Okay, welcome back. So guys, now to the vertical measurement. You need to start measuring from your shoulder. So to measure from your shoulder, don't measure from here, measure from the base of your neck. It will be more accurate and precise. Okay, so you place your tape rule here. You know, while we're doing the horizontal measurement, we measured the round shoulder. And at that point, I said if you're making off-shoulder clothes, bustiers, for example, you would need that. Okay, so you would ask your client, from where do you want it to start? Ask your client all the questions that you can ask. Don't assume. So some will want their cleavage to show, some will want 4 inches, some might want 6 inches. So it is at that point of 6 inches, okay, that you take your off-shoulder measurement, okay, like we did earlier, okay? The next measurement is from your neckline to your waist, to your high waist, okay? This is 15 inches. And like I said earlier, you see there's a difference between this high waist and the low waist. Okay, where you put your trouser is usually lower. You also measure from this base of your neck to your low waist. Okay, the client might want a blouse that is long or something. You have to measure, just measure. You don't know what you might need the measurement for. For my mannequin, from here to the high waist is 15, to the low waist is 18. That is a 3-inch difference. What you're measuring must pass through the fullest part of your bodies, of your upper body. That is your point. Don't measure like this. Don't go through the middle. Don't go through the side. Put it right on the bust. Okay, right on the bust, and then you measure down to your waist. This is about 15 inches. So there's a peculiarity to the front waist, shoulder to the front waist and shoulder to the back waist, because we have the bust at the front. We get more measurement than you get at the back. So this is 15 inches. Come to the back. Always ensure that this is aligning at the front. So if you do this to here, this is 12. You see, there is a difference. The difference between the front half length and the back half length is what gives us the bust dart. That is where the issue of the bust dart comes in. All right, so when you're drafting, you have to take that into consideration. You get the difference between your front half length and your back half length, and then you use the difference to create a bust dart. Okay, now let's go to the other measurement. So you also measure from your shoulder to the hips. Some people like to measure from shoulder to hips. I mean from here to where the hips start. But for me, I like to start from the waistline. Okay, you start from the upper waist to where the hips start. So I've actually received some questions about how do I know where the hip starts. Okay, for me, I do not measure from here to the fullest part. Okay, because if I look at the fullest part, this is about this part, right? And then if I put my tape rule here, this is about 12 inches. That is too long. So when you're measuring from the waist to the hips, you look at where the hip, where the full part is about to start. Not that point where it is exactly, where it is about, at that point where that fullness is about to begin. Okay, do you understand? You know the hips is like this, the waist is like this, right? So at that point where the fullness is about to begin, that is where you take your measurements. When you're measuring for the horizontal measurements around your hips, you take the fullest part. But when you're measuring for the vertical measurements, you look at where the fullness, where that fullness is about to begin. Looking at this mannequin, I would say this part is the fullest. Okay, which is here, right? So I'm not going to take my waist to hips from here to here. This is going to be too much. Okay, and I'm sure you'd have noticed this, that sometimes the waist of your clients, the hips descend. Would I say descend? Yes. The hips descend, and then the clients will say, adjust it, take some inches inward. That is because you didn't get the hip line. That's because you actually did not get the hip line. Okay, you measured it in excess. That is why the hips the hips on the dress will descend. So I measure about 2 to 3 inches upward, and then I take the measurement. So from here to here, this is about 8 inches, which is perfect. For someone like me, my waist to hips is 7 inches. Okay, not 9 inches. If I use 9, I would either have to pull up my skirt or the trouser, whatever, okay, and then the waist will no longer be on my exact waistline, or I pull it down and then I adjust it at the hip line, okay, and then the waist is also distorted. One other measurement is this: from the waist to the thigh, waist to the knee, waist to the floor length or the ankle. So you have 2 options when you're measuring for the crotch. This first method is you put your tape rule right in between the thigh of the client, and then you measure like this from one waistline. If you're using the high waist, good. If you're using the low waist, it depends on which one you're using. So this is about 28 inches. So one other thing you can do is to get a chair. You sit on the chair, okay, and then you measure from your waistline, wherever the waist is, the high waist or the low waist. Then you measure from the waistline to the chair, to the surface of the chair, the surface of the chair, okay? Don't put your tape rule inward, don't put it under your thigh. No, it should be from your waist. For me, I have 11 inches. Another thing is when your client is sitting on the chair, the client's back should be straight. You shouldn't slouch like this, okay, because that way you will not get the exact waistline. So the client should sit up, okay, and then you measure from your waist to the surface of the chair. So our next measurement is going to be the extra measurements. Like I said the other time, if you want to make a again or fitted dress or clothes or bodies, you need to take extra measurements. So one is this: from your shoulder to the bust point. So from your shoulder to your bust point, if you're making a fitted dress, a hugging dress, like your corset, bustiers and all, that's a bust point, okay, this part, right? And then you take it to the under bust as well. Another measurement is round your neck. This is usually used for shirts, so you can just take the measurement round. And that is going to be the circumference for the neck. And the sleeves as well, you measure, for me, I measure the biceps, the elbow, and the wrist. So you measure round. I'm not able to do this on my own. Okay, so let's assume this actually as a hand. Round the bicep, round the elbow, and round the wrist. So when you're taking the measurement of your sleeve, start measuring from the shoulder bone or from the armhole line, whichever one you used. Okay, so you measure to the bicep, measure to the elbow, and then you measure to the wrist. So I think that's about all for the measurement. If there's any other measurement you feel I did not take, please let me know. You know, what we do is, as much as possible, we try to replicate what we would have done if we were draping. Okay, so you know, if you're actually draping on your mannequin, on your pinnable mannequin, you don't need all those measurements. Since we are not draping, we try as much as possible to take all necessary measurements so that if we were draping, we would get the same result. Okay, I think you're done. So guys, this is actually a bonus for those who watch this video up to this point. I'd just like to tell you some measurements that we divide by 4 and those that we divide by 2. All right, so measurements from up here, those upper parts, except the sleeves, you divide it by 4. The bust, the under bust, the waistline, the hips, you divide by 4. All right, for your arms high, you divide it by 2. And the reason we divide it by 2 is because, you know, this is the O of the body, of the upper body. So we have one arm for one side, one arm for the other side. Alright? So, since this is just for this side, you're going to divide it by 2. The arm side divided by 2. Circumference of the bicep, the elbow, the wrist, you divide by 2. Alright? Same for the thigh. So when you're making your trouser, you divide the thigh, the hips by 4. Why do we divide the thigh by 2? And the reason is this. You know, at this point, it is the whole body. It is still the whole body. But from this crotch right here, from this part, it's divided into 2. So it's more like this thigh is for this part, this thigh is for this part. Okay? Anything from here, thigh, knee, ankle, divide by 2. Anything that's divided, where the body has divided into 2, has been divided into 2. You divide it by 2. This arm, divide by 2. Your sleeve measurement, thigh, knee, ankle, divide by 2. Hips, waist, under bust, divide by 4. Shoulder, divide by 2. The reason is because the shoulder measurement is actually on one part of the body. Okay, so it's more like, just like what happened with the thigh. This is one half of the body, the back is one half, the front is one half. So we've divided it into 2, and when we were taking the measurements, you will see that I only took the measurements from here to here. Okay, I didn't take it round. Alright, for the shoulder I mean, not the shoulder circumference, not the off shoulder measurement. Okay, not that. For this part, right, I did not take it round. I only took this part. So you have to divide it by 2 because it is just for one half of the body, and that is the same one that we use for the front. You know, right? I think that's all. So if you found it useful, if you found the bonus tip useful, please let me know. I hope I did justice to explaining it well. Okay, so thank you guys. Thank you very much for watching this tutorial. If it has been helpful, please let me know. So we see you again next time. Please take care of yourself and have a great day. Bye.